So, staying true to my word of answering any question or topic that people comment below, I'm going to be answering this. So, this video is about the CIA's involvement in South America democracies, or it's going to kind of go in that direction. Um, I kind of went down a rabbit hole when doing some research on this, so you're going to get hit with not bro science, but some bro history. So, getting right into it. From 1948 to 2002, the CIA has involved itself in Venezuela, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Peru, Brazil, Paraguay, Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention to how many countries I just named. 12, right? And then I'm going to put on the screen the map of South America. I want you to count real quick how many countries you see. There's 12 fucking countries in South America. The United States has involved itself in all of them. And by involving themselves, I mean like funding coups and stuff like that. Like crazy shit. So this is where the bro history's coming in. Me just yapping. I have no clue what I'm talking about, right? Fucking watched some videos, read some articles, and asked ChatGPT some questions. So, I mean, they funded violent dictators. Many people died. And so while I was running down this fucking rabbit hole, I know this is supposed to be about democratic systems, but when you look into it, it's kind of hard to label these countries as certain things. I would say they claim Chile is a democratic system. Uruguay is like a full democratic system, and then Argentina is also just like a democratic system. So like they kind of follow the rules of democracy, I guess. But overall, the CIA has mainly involved itself in all these countries during the Cold War. I know 2002, I think, is technically past that time, but they did so in an attempt to stop the spread of communism. So I think there was a real movement in South America for very left-leaning governments. Like they were trying to, even in some of these cases, they legally, through their constitutions and stuff, voted people in, and then we would fund these aggressive dictators to go and kill them, basically. And so that led me to Operation Condor, which there isn't much information on, but this is very interesting when you deep dive into it. Overall, just the amount of people that died because of this operation that the CIA funded to keep communism and far left governments from taking hold of South American countries, 60,000 people died between 1975 and 1983. So some of these other countries I mentioned are outside of this Operation Condor, but it's still relatively the same idea where we were funding and supplying either militia groups or dictators to overthrow or keep other political opponents out of power that we didn't want taking hold, because we knew that would spread communism or left-leaning ideologies that would support like Russia and stuff, for the Soviet Union at the time, which we did not want, right? So getting straight into Operation Condor, Operation Condor was actually not created by the CIA. It was funded by the CIA. So the CIA took these people, funded them, gave them equipment, trained them, trained special forces teams from the countries that were involved. Who actually created it was the Chile dictator Augusto Pinochet. I'm going to butcher this. This is some bro history, okay? You guys can't come mad at me. His spy chief, Manuel Contreras, created this intelligence force called Operation Condor from people in Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. A little background info on Augusto and his Manuel Contreras. Augusto overthrew Salvador Allende. I'm butchering this. Who was elected like correctly. Like he didn't break any rules. The people of Chile and stuff wanted him in office. They said, yes, this is our president. They voted for him. They followed the rules. Augusto said, fuck you, I'm a general. I can do whatever the fuck I want, and overthrew the government. And of course, the U.S. supported this because they wanted to stop the spread of left-leaning ideologies. So because of Operation Condor, like I said, 60,000 people died. During all this, we knew of it. 382 illegal detentions. So they're going and arresting political figures, guerrilla warfare. They're crossing country lines. They're doing all sorts of shit that was considered human rights violations. There was 367 murders and disappearances. So they were forcing people to disappear, whacking people if they did not agree or they thought they were going to get voted in over them, stuff like that. And the U.S.'s excuse to this was, and I quote, "The efforts against communism is as justified as Israel's actions against Palestinian terrorists." Kind of wild. So they're kind of dealing with the same shit that we're dealing with now with all of that, which is just kind of crazy to look back at. And some of the other shit that the CIA knew about because they were directly asked for this. The Paraguayan archives shows that they were requested to track suspects to and from the U.S. Embassy, which is insane. So other political figures and stuff like that were going to U.S. embassies to communicate or whatnot, and then the U.S. would feed information to Operation Condor so they could track them, find them, force disappear, stuff like that, these political figures, because the U.S. is sometimes a backstabbing bitch, right? So we'd be like, oh yeah, we'll talk to you, but you know, your left-leaning ideology is a threat to our nation's security, so we're going to give your information to this group that has just been making people disappear, right? You know, so we knew about that. This is all documented. It was released in documents in I think 2001. I read. It was basically declassified, just like the JFK files and shit like that recently. This just obviously has not gotten as much attention as like the JFK files and stuff like that. So the CIA just provided this info to these military states that would go and kill them, which is just a huge violation of human rights. And in these documents, it showed that Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State in Nixon and Ford's administration, was well aware of the Condor Plan. Like, so it wasn't like a secret CIA mission on the side that they're funding this, and the U.S. government was like, whoa, you guys are committing crimes. We're going to, take you guys to court and charge you, because sometimes shit like that happens. Nah, like Henry Kissinger just knew about this, and I'm guessing that means the presidents knew about this as well, and they were just like, yeah, fuck yeah, we got to stop the spread of communism at the cost of 60,000 people. 60,000 people died because we didn't want certain ideologies to control the countries in South America, which is just fucking diabolical when you think about it. And there was so much evidence that the U.S. government knew of this, it wasn't just the CIA, that actually, I'm going to really butcher this. In 2001, Kissinger was at a hotel in Paris, and a French judge, Rachel Lulol, you got to say it with a French accent. I can't do that. He requested to see Kissinger, and he wanted to like question him about the disappearances of French nationals in these South American countries, meaning they weren't just targeting the local population. There was people going there to support these ideologies, and they would whack them too. So like if you were going there from France to kind of support or visit and do whatever, you were not safe. They were coming for you too. Kissinger actually dipped and got away. He didn't involve himself in these questions, and I think he did that because he knew about what was going on. He's probably heard of the French nationals that these military states killed, that these dictators got rid of, because he probably was informed on all this. So like everything, when you hear about death and all of this, people do care, but the main thing that angers people is their tax dollars, right? So now I kind of want to talk about some crazy shit. There is no actual number on how much we sent these South American military states and dictators. We have no clue. I tried to find it. I guess the excuse that is given through ChatGPT, through all the stuff that I read, the videos I watched, is that the funds were in a Cold War security assistance program, right? So the overall funds, your tax dollars, or not our tax dollars, but earlier generations' tax dollars, were going to an overall fund for the Cold War, and then they would relocate those funds to this project that the CIA was funding. So you don't know how much of your money went to the slaughter of 60,000 people and the illegal detaining of many more, right? Which is also kind of annoying when you think about it, because the government can just tax you for something, say it's for one thing, and then you find out later on that you funded the death of 60,000 people. That stuff is kind of going on today when you think about it. We fund groups. We've been doing it forever. So your taxes just go to the mass slaughtering of individuals. It's sickening. But we do know, like I stated earlier in the video, the U.S. provided training, equipment, and finances. So it was probably millions and millions of dollars. That's not cheap. If you look at the Ukraine war right now, we've spent an insane amount of money on the Ukraine war. We're very much more open about that. I imagine the Ukraine war is much more large scale. There's also inflation and stuff you have to take into consideration. But just think about how expensive the Ukraine war has been, and it probably implies that this was pretty expensive to do. That a lot of your taxes went to this. So with this, they kind of did accomplish their main goal. They eliminated a lot of opposition, foreign ideologies that they did not want in South America. Their main goal is to prevent communism. I know there are some socialist countries in South America, or there were until recently, but they did prevent during that time some of these things from happening. And like I said, they got intelligence across the continent. So they have a network of people that they can communicate with, they can tap, they can do all this stuff to just listen in on everything. It's an intelligence game, and we won it. And you might say, well, there's a good reason you don't want communism to spread. You don't want this on your doorstep. You don't want, the enemies, quote unquote, of the world taking control of countries so close to home. But at the end of the day, I think we should value human life more than anything. And I think we should not want our government funding dictators and military states to take out the opposition. I think if you want to spread democracy and you really believe that your way of living is morally correct, do it through education, helping finance these countries. I know a lot of these countries have problems with being underdeveloped. They're considered like quote unquote third world countries. I think we can agree on that. They should have switched them over to democracies, kept who they wanted in power through funding these countries, helping them develop, instead of just squashing whatever they saw as a threat. And I know that might be unrealistic, but we should have high expectations of our government, because if we want to be the good guys, we should act like the good guys, right? Instead of pretending to be the good guys and killing 60,000 people to make us look like the good guys. Now, during this rabbit hole, this crazy it's not even a conspiracy, the documents released, it's a real thing. But during all this, I fell into the conspiracies of UFOs. So if you want to hop into that, the CIA has had even more involvement than the US government has because of UFOs. In Brazil, 1996, Ferreira incident, supposedly there was a crash and the US assisted in retrieval of the materials, right? So you can toss around the idea maybe we were testing our own products and then we go and clean it up when we crash or make mistakes, right? Because these are third world countries that probably don't have the best surveillance systems and stuff. And also, after Operation Condor, I imagine we know what they're doing, so we can test our stuff around the same time, right? So keep that in mind. And then Chile, Argentina, Uruguay all have these theories because they have their own UAP intelligence committees, just like we do. And there's all these conspiracies and stuff, if you dive into it, of these agencies sharing information with the USA. So like USA is big daddy of the UAP situation, and all these countries share their information with us. And then in Bolivia, there was an incident where a crashed UFO, and USA showed up to recover it. And then in Peru in 1980, Air Force pilots there encountered a UFO in the sky, and supposedly they got questioned and had to do follow-ups with the U.S. defense officials. So, like I said, you could wrap all that up into we're testing our own equipment there, and then when it fails or something happens, we get to question these countries that we kind of have a control over, or you could say it's aliens. I don't know, but I wanted to just add that because I thought that was fun. So, I'm sorry for this really rough breakdown of our involvement in South America, but I did a good amount of research on this, and I think, yeah, I think I answered that question. I made the video.